All right, here's lesson 27.2, where we're going to be factoring trinomials of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. So this means that my coefficient of a is going to be greater than 1. So we're going to be able to factor trinomials of the form ax squared plus bx plus c when the greatest common factor is 1 and when it's not 1. So the way this lesson does this is not efficient. And I'll show you why, and we'll do this lesson in a different way. So looking at example, example A, it says, factor the trinomial 2x squared plus 7x plus 6 using the guess and check method. So as you see, it's not too much work because we know that to get 2x squared is going to be 2x times x. So we already know the first two terms of our binomial. So really, we just got to figure out the next one and then to multiply to be 6. So then listing off those factors. Not too much work using the guess and check method, but there's a more efficient way. Example B, same thing. I have 3x squared plus 8x minus 11 using the guess and check method. Again, it factors needs to be 3x and x. So we know the first two terms of my binomial. However, let's go to example C. I have to factor 4x squared minus 4x minus 15 using the guess and check method, and that's a lot of work because my first two terms could be 4x and x or 2x and x, and that's just one number with two pairs of factors. So we're going to learn a method that is more efficient that will help us factor trinomials of this form without using the guess and check method. So I'm going to go up to B, and what this method is actually called is we're going to be factoring by grouping. So within this process, we are going to need to break apart this middle term into two different terms in order to factor out greatest common factors from the first half and the second half. So in order to figure out what I need to break that middle term up into, I'm going to need to find two numbers that multiply together to be a times c, the add together to be b. So a times c, so 2 times negative 18, so it's going to be negative 36. The add together to be 5. So I'm just going to start listing off the factors of negative 36. So I get negative 12 times 3. That's negative 9 when I add those together, so that's not what I need. What about negative 6 times 6? Nope, that's going to add together to be 0. Again, not what I need. So what about negative 9 times 5? Adding together that, not times 5, times 4. That adds together to be negative 5, so it's close, but still not quite ready. So what if I switch the negatives? So negative 4 times 9, so that would be positive 5. So these two numbers are what I'm going to break that middle term into. So I get 2x squared minus 4x plus 9x minus 18. And I could have put the 9x first and then the negative 4x. Either way, it does not matter. Now I'm going to factor out the greatest common factor from each half of this polynomial. So the first half, I have 2x squared minus 4x. Well, I can factor out an x and 2. So I get 2x. That would leave me with x minus 2. From the second half of the polynomial, I can factor out 9 from both. So I get 9 and then x minus 2. And this is actually the case that I need these two binomials to be the same because now I can factor out that binomial from each of those products. So I get x minus 2, and what's left is the 2x plus 9. So these are my two binomials that form to make this trinomial and multiply together. And again, I can check that by actually just going through and doing the multiplication. 2x plus 9, so I'm going to use FOIL. So first, 2x outer plus 9x inner, be negative 4x, and last. So negative 19, so 2x squared plus 5x minus 18, which is exactly correct. So I'm going to do that again down here. So I'm just going to I'll do C. So I need two numbers that multiply together to be A times C, to add together to be B. Well, A times C 4 times 21, that would be 84. And then but adds together to be negative 20. So what about, I'm just thinking of factors of 84. I bet you 12 is a factor. And that would be 12 times 7. So 12. And it's going to need to be negative. So negative 12 times negative 7. That adds together to be negative 19. So that one doesn't quite work. What about, so 84 maybe divided by 10? No, not 10. Ooh, 6. So 84 divided by 6 is 14. So what about negative 6 times negative 14? That would multiply together to be 84, positive 84, and add together to be negative 20. So these are the two numbers, and that doesn't look like a 14, but that's 14. Those are the two numbers that I'm going to break that middle term up into. So I get 4x squared minus 6x minus 14x plus 21. So again, then taking out the greatest common factor from each half. From the first half, I can pull out the x and a 2. So I get 2x, and that would be 2x minus 3. From my second half, I need to pull out a negative to make this a minus, and I can actually pull out negative 17. So negative, not 17, 7. So that would make me have a positive 2x, and then minus 3, because a negative times a negative would be a positive. And those two binomials are the same as, which is what I want. So I have 2x minus 3 times what's left, which is 2x minus 7. And again, we can check that by doing the multiplication, and we would get 4x squared minus 20x plus 21. So that's when my trinomials don't have any greatest common factors in the actual trinomial. So let's go down to the next page, and we'll do example D, where it says factor the trinomial 9x squared minus 24x plus 12. Well, I know that all of those have a factor of 3, so we could factor out the 3 first, and then you just need to factor the remaining trinomial. So we're going to practice that. Let's do A. So I'm just going to write it off to the side. So we have 10x squared plus 19x. I'm not going to have a common factor. No, let's do B. So there's no greatest common factor within those terms. That would just be factoring like normal. So 8x squared plus 20x minus 28. So I know that I can factor out a greatest common factor from all of those, and it's actually 4. So that leaves me with 2x squared plus 5x minus 7. So I would just need to factor that inner trinomial. And so the 4 is still there, but I'm needing to find two numbers, and I'll just erase that 4 for right now. I need two numbers that multiply together to be A times C. Well, A, new C. So negative 14, but add together to be 5. So what about positive 7 times negative 2? That adds together to be 5. So that's what I'm going to break that middle term into. So I still have the 4. So then I have 2x squared plus 7x minus 2x minus 7. Factoring out the greatest common factor from the first half and then the second half. Well, I can factor out the x from the first half. That leaves me with 2x plus 7. And I can factor out negative 1 to make that a plus 7 and positive 2x, so minus 1. Oops. And what's left is the 2x plus 7. So rewriting this, with my factors. So I get 4 times 2x plus 7 multiplied with what's left, which is x minus 1. Let me know if you have any questions.